Miss Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Hopkins?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Miss Page?
Here.
Mrs. Quintern?
Here.
Madam Chair, the clerk certifies the presence of a quorum.
Thank you. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Dr. Hornick, is there any additions to the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. We had one since it was sent out Thursday, letter G in the superintendent reports and recommendations, and we will discuss that as time allows regarding employee sick leave bank.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda with the added presentation?
So moved.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, at this time, I will turn it over to you, Dr. Hornick.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appreciate that. First, under superintendent's report and recommendations, we have a presentation of an overnight and out-of-state field trip request to Columbus, Ohio. And Mr. Chase Berry is here, should you have any questions. And this is for the FFA, correct?
Let me see. I did look at that.
And Mr. Bear, if I have this correct, this is as a follow-up to some competition that you guys had last year, and then this is now kind of the next round, so to speak, correct?
Okay. And so there is a second chaperone going?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Dodson, who is the other ag teacher, she will also be attending the field trip. This trip is basically a national contest between many teams in the country that competed in their state FFA convention, and so we were blessed enough to receive a second place finish at Virginia Tech, which qualified us to go to this national contest at the All-American Quarter Horse Congress in Columbus, Ohio. And these girls have really worked hard. They're a team of 3 competing against teams of 4. And so they really are doing great things.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's something to be proud of.
Thank you.
Do you take the horses?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right. Well, if no one has any questions of Mr. Berry, I would like to entertain an idea to go ahead and approve this.
Yeah, I'd love to make that motion that we approve that as presented.
All right. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
Yes,
luck.
good luck.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Berry. Appreciate your time.
Please convey to these young people how proud we are and to even get this far. So, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, for your support. Next will be letter B, which is an enrollment update. And Dr. Anderson and Dr. Honaker are here. They can answer any questions you may have. But Dr. Anderson put this report here together as a base of a 10-day student count and a comparison over the past few years.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Hornick, members of the board. This is our annual report of enrollment as of the 10th day of school, by school. In the column to the far right, this is the enrollment for this fall as of the 10th day, and then you'll see the enrollment on the 10th day of the previous 3 years. You'll notice some changes across the years and among the schools, with the largest differences in enrollment being some decreases at Prospect Heights Middle School and some increases at Locust Grove Primary and Locust Grove Middle School.
And these are the totals for the 10-day counts, and looking over the past 4 years, we thought it would be good for you to see the year that we closed for COVID. Then COVID did have somewhat of an effect, but we did bounce back up, and you can see that coming back. Any questions?
That's amazing that it was not any more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
thank you.
Thanks for what you
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the docket, Madam Chair, members of the board, will be the presentation of the supplemental appropriations for food service, and I believe Ms. Blair is here, and she can speak to this if there are any questions. As a basic overview, there has been some additional funding, primarily from the federal level and then from the state level, to help offset rising costs in food services for fuel and supply chain issues, et cetera. And so divisions were awarded some additional funding to help offset. And so this is for a supplemental appropriations in the tune of $829,033.
No, you're fine. Are there any questions of Ms. Blair? Okay, then I'll entertain, since this is supplemental, I'll entertain a motion to go ahead and accept this.
I make a motion to approve the food service funds addition to the budget as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Blair. And hope your foot gets better.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Next, we are going to go over carryover funds requests, and we have a few folks who can speak to some of these, Ms. Ayler and Ms. Dawson and a few others. These carryover funds, there's a list of them from open purchase orders, that items that had not been received as of the close of last fiscal year. Local donation and insurance check. I can't remember, Susan, what the local donation was exactly. I know the insurance check was for the greenhouse, correct? And so that is slated to be repaired. And again, so that was money that was it happened last fiscal year, and it will be paid for out of this current fiscal year. Go ahead, Susan.
And the local donation was a donation from Lakeside Title and Escrow, and it's used by the school social workers with children and families.
And how about VTSS?
That is the Virginia Tiered Systems of Support grant through the state, and none of the money was expended last fiscal year.
The FY23 insurance cost above the budgeted amount. I know Yvonne can speak to that as well as our disability insurance.
Yes. So we are requesting the supplemental appropriation for the insurance cost. So we had originally projected a 15% increase. The schools and the county did. And unfortunately, it came in higher than anticipated. And so we were also fortunate enough to have the money in carryover to be able to offset that, so we don't have to push the cost onto the employee, which is wonderful. That's what we've been trying to do.
And Ms. Dawson, in addition to that cost, there were also areas within the levels of insurance
Yes.
that we have that both the county and the school division have increased the employer contribution
Yes.
to help to ensure to try to keep costs down for our employees.
Yes, so the county did a comparison of the surrounding counties to see where they fall compared, and they were at the very bottom. We were the worst paying employer contribution. We looked at the school side, it was the same way. So what we were able to do is increase the amount of employer contribution to the employee plus tiers. So employee plus child. We also added a tier, employee plus children. So that cost is less than employee plus family.
And then disability insurance, Ms. Dawson can speak to that as well. This was the opportunity for us to offer short and long-term disability to our legacy employees. It's part of the package for our hybrid employees. And so this was an opportunity to add that benefit for our legacy Plan 1 employees.
Yes, absolutely. So all along we've been trying to align our benefit package to the counties. and we have developed such a great relationship. So when we sat down at the table, one of the things that came up was short and long-term disability for their legacy employees. And so that, of course, initiated a conversation, well, what about the schools if we want to be aligned? And so a lot of hard work, and Gary was able to find the funds in the carryover, but we are able to offer short and long-term disability covered at 100% for our legacy employees. So
Can you define legacy employees?
absolutely. So legacy is defined through the Virginia retirement system as your Plan 1 or your Plan 2 members. There's Plan 1, Plan 2, and then there's the hybrid. And so you were already paying for the short and long term for the hybrid because it was mandated as part of their benefit package. So now everyone will get the same benefit, and actually it's a better benefit because previously hybrid employees had to wait 12 months before they were eligible. This is day one. So October 1st, every employee who is VRS eligible will have this benefit available to them.
And the Plan 1 and Plan 2, I can't remember specifically the dates, Mr. Hopkins, but it's based on when you started within the VRS. It's tied to your start date.
Right.
Yeah.
And so essentially your Plan 1 and Plan 2 folks generally tend to be your more tenured employees.
I think it was 2013.
Somewhere around there, 2011, 2013.
Don't hold me to that one, but I think it was January of 2013 is when hybrid went into place.
But can you explain to me how you move from sick leave to disability? In other words,
So with disability, you would submit a claim to the insurance company, and they will determine whether or not the claim is compensable. So the birth of a child is a great example. So when one of our employees goes out for a birth, they'll fill out the disability paperwork, and they'll receive compensation through the disability plan, not necessarily their sick leave plan. So they would continue to have sick days on the books. They would be used in the short-term disability. Where right now, a lot of our employees, there might be in that first year where they don't have the disability, or they're a legacy employee and didn't purchase the disability, so they have to utilize all of their sick leave. And so then they burn through that, they're on leave without pay, they come back, child gets sick, and they're on leave without pay again. So this is such a great benefit for our employees.
And it's 100%, and not every county does that either.
No.
Some counties you do have to pay for your leave to make that 100%. So that's
Well, now it's not 100% compensation. It's based on a tiered system. So if you serve X number of months, you get 125 days paid at this amount.
Okay.
And then it goes up. But again, it's from day one. There is no year wait time. So, and 60% of disability pay is higher than what a lot of people think because it comes out and there's no taxes taken out of it. So,
very good.
any other questions I can answer about that?
I'll be honest, I just have to take your word for it because it would take 8 hours of instruction for me to actually understand everything you're trying to tell me.
Well, when
So,
you
but
start
I-
talking about disability, sick leave, family and medical leave, and all of those things combined, yes, I agree.
Okay.
Yes, it does get very complicated.
Well,
But what I can guarantee you is this is an awesome benefit that what Ms. Quintern said, not a lot of school divisions offer for their employees, and we're offering it to everyone, and that's huge.
Well, we count on our employees, and I'm counting on you, and that's why I'm going to vote in favor.
Thank you.
Well, if everybody's comfortable, do you want to go ahead and make the motion, Mr. Hopkins?
Yes. Let me get to. I think the motion would be to approve the estimated year-end expenses and revenue operating for the year 2021 to 2022 as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, for that support. Next, we will have supplemental appropriations for FY23, and there are two kind of tiers here. We have a digital mapping grant that Mr. Berry is more than capable of answering questions you may have. This ties in heavily with new code as well as safety and security for digital mapping of our buildings. And the second one, I think, was this. Dr. Anderson can speak to. This is American Rescue Plan funds. Essentially, these are grants that we have been awarded, and they're both here that can answer questions you may have.
With the digital mapping, there was grant funds provided for, I think it's $3,500 per school, and was mandated in recent code. And we went out to critical response group for that, and they will be doing that. They've already taken our blueprints of our schools, and they will map the school out. They'll put it on a grid. So and it'll be electronic. So when law enforcement or EMS arrive at the building at the time of a crisis, you're able to tell them to go to the door at G6. There's no, go to the door, labeled 13 on the Bravo side of the building. We'll be bravoing around clockwise or counterclockwise, so it's all laid out on a grid, which will make it much cleaner when there is a response that needs to be made. Hats off to this particular organization that we are working with, in that even though they knew that there were $3,500 per school, the total amount came to, can you go back to that previous screen? The amount came to $30,186, so they actually left money on the table, which is, to me, not very common anymore. Businesses knowing that they could get $3,500, you'd probably oftentimes see that number come in at about $34,999. But so hats off to that. So these are funds that are being provided back from the state to pay for that work being done. Questions regarding that? Thank you.
Good evening again. The two supplemental appropriations for Head Start are federal funds. The first of those is actually a balance of the American Rescue Plan funds that were first appropriated in November of last year. So we're requesting a supplemental appropriation for the balance of $154,211 and some change. And the second is an additional grant that was provided to Head Start. It's the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation. And that amount was the $49,359, and that again was a grant. There had to be a plan submitted for that in order to secure the funds. So those are the two appropriations that we would like to request for Head Start.
Okay. Are there any questions of Dr. Anderson?
Thank you.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to accept the presentation of supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2023 as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Next, we have letter F, Employee Benefits Update, and Ms. Dawson will return to the podium.
I'm back. So we are happy to report that we opened up our Ben Admin platform today for employees to enroll, and so far we're still working out a couple little tweaks here and there, but overall I am very pleased. So just to take you back, we changed insurance brokers. We now are with McGriff. They've done an outstanding job with us and the county. We were able to provide information through our platform, so we have a Google Drive that has all the information in it. We have an HR intranet drive, has all the information in it, send it out via email. We held in-person meetings at all of our schools. We collaborated with the county, so we opened several of our locations up for county employees to come in and sit through the meetings as well. We held meetings at the airport. We did virtual meetings, and we had a recorded presentation. So lots of opportunities to get the information out to our staff members. We have also let staff know if they need additional assistance. We will either come to them, do a virtual meeting, they can come to our office, however, we need to help support them. So again, so far so good. So I just kind of wanted to give you a brief update on what changed and kind of what stayed the same. So what changed, we eliminated our key care plan. If you'll remember, we gave staff a 1 year's notice that we were no longer going to offer the key care plan. What we did do is we added another HSA plan. So we have the $3,000 HSA with the $1,500 contribution from the school board. We added a $4,500 HSA with an $1,800 contribution from the school board. So that's going to entice a lot of younger people who are healthy that already have some money in their HSA built up. Well, they're going to move to that $4,500 and collect $1,800 a year. So we're going to start to see an uptick in our HSAs, which is great. We took the vision exam out of our medical. There was a $15 copay where you could go have a medical exam, but the benefits weren't really great. So we have our iMed plan. So we went to iMed and said, okay, can you enrich the frames? Because that's what most people, if you go to the eye and you have to have frames, you want nice frames. So they upped the allowance for frames, which we were happy with. Of course, the short and long-term disability that we now have, we're doing away with the Manhattan Cancer. We have gone with AFLAC. So AFLAC, we had critical illness. We've added the cancer plan to the critical illness, so it'll all be encompassed into one. So that's a great benefit. We're no longer going through Trustmark for the life insurance. Again, we have the short and long-term disability. We have new plan administrators for our flexible savings and our HSA, our health savings accounts. We're moving to flexible benefit administrators. And then we did away with Anthem Employee Assistance Program. Was not rich for us. It didn't have the resources that we need. So we're going back to Optima, which had really great resources. So we were excited about that. Let's see, staying the same, Delta Dental stayed the same, iMed, we just increased the limit for frames, the accident and hospitalization through AFLAC remain the same, and legal resources. And then we also have the one plan under Anthem that is like the copay, the point of service plan. Again, we added some additional funds for the employer contribution to the Employee Plus tiers to make us more competitive in the market. And we added the Employee Plus Children tier. I think. Any questions I can answer? No. Overall, I think it's gone well. People have been very pleased. So. Good.
I'm assuming most all of these plans are now pretty much coordinated with the county as well?
They're all aligned with the county. We offer the exact same benefit package.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
While I do realize this is a lot to digest, but is everyone comfortable with going ahead and approving this?
It's not marked for approval.
You don't have to approve
Oh, we
it. It was
don't?
just an
Oh.
update. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Nope.
oh, I'm sorry.
You
I'm
approved
looking-
the short and long-term disability.
Yep, it says action, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. My bad. All righty.
Thank you, Ms. Dawson. I guess go ahead and stay there.
Yes.
Because next we're going to move to letter G, and we're going to talk about policy GCBF. This follows in line with the approval that you graciously granted a few moments ago with respect to short and long-term disability and what that means as far as the employee sick leave bank.
Right. So, Micah, I have to say this, and hi, by the way. If Craig Wood were here, he would be jumping up and down because he hated employee sick leave banks and always tried to get us to get rid of them. So I think he would be very pleased. The employee sick leave bank was adjusted back when the hybrid VRS benefit was put into place because, of course, hybrid got short and long-term disability, so we didn't allow them to participate in the sick leave bank. This was for our legacy employees just kind of another benefit. They would donate a day, and then they could draw up to 50 days in the calendar year if they needed that. Well, now that we are offering short and long-term disability, we no longer need to offer the employee sick leave bank. So we're asking that this policy be deleted. And I think it's important to note that we have not sent out enrollment for this for the current year.
Right, so we don't have any employees that have donated days to the bank at this point, so kind of makes the sick leave bank a moot point.
Yes.
It's kind of good to see it go, because when you were on the end of need, it was, it'd be worrisome knowing that whether or not people were going to be generous enough.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we would get down to, do we have enough days to fund? And then the nightmare of trying to decipher through what meets that level, you know, are you approved, are you not approved? And this is much better to have a medical team saying this is an approved benefit versus us.
That's why short and long-term disability is a much cleaner and much better benefit.
The banking, was that done on an annual basis?
It was,
Okay.
yes. If you wanted to participate, you donated one day into the sick bank
Okay.
at the beginning of the year.
It made some sense 12, 13, 15 years ago because what we offered wasn't that robust. So it gave some protection for some teachers. But I'm glad to see it go.
And in the absence of a short and long-term disability for the legacy employees, we needed something. It's just we're in a much better spot now with actual policy disability.
Okay, so this is an actionable item.
action
Yes,
item.
ma'am.
Mr. Hopkins, would you like to make a motion to
Yes.
get rid of this?
I make a motion that we delete policy GCBF.
Second.
Second by Ms. Quintern. All in favor by saying aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. And once again, if we need her, Ms. Blair is here again to talk about some policy revision to school nutrition. We came across this upon our checking of policy, and the way the policy previously read was how business used to be done in our day-to-day in our cafeterias, and that is no longer how we operate. And this deals primarily with students who have negative account balances, et cetera. And so Ms. Blair is here, and you can speak more to it. Thank you, Ms. Blair.
Correct. Yeah, it's time for us to update our policy because for the past couple of years we haven't needed a negative balance policy because there were no negative balances. But now we are having a few negative balances. However, we need to make sure that we're doing what the Department of Education is expecting us to do when it comes to the language in our policy. And so some of the language that was in there with charge limits, with alternate meals, those types of things have been taken out. But the responsibility is still on the parent to pay their negative balance. I could read it, but I think you see it, and if you have questions about it, I'm happy to answer them.
Under point 1, is that saying that students, if they don't have funds for lunch, that they can't get like extra like brownies and stuff?
Correct.
Okay.
We sell what we call smart snacks. So those are low sugar, lower calorie snacks that children could buy at the high school and middle school level. And if they have a negative balance, they are not permitted to purchase those.
Okay. Should the language, because I know that they're changing how legal language is being presented, instead of may, should it be shall not?
That I wouldn't know. Completely up to you guys. I just know that we can't do that in the kitchen. So.
All right, where are you referring to?
Under point 1, the first highlight, students may not incur.
Mm-hmm.
Should it be students shall not incur a negative balance?
Micah, you want to weigh in on this?
I think either is fine.
Okay.
Shall is probably a little bit clear. I agree with you.
Everybody okay with that change?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question, and I might have asked you this when we had talked about the discount programs and the free lunches for the elementary and middle school.
Yes.
Is there a number for the high school as far as what the amount it would cost, or the cost of what it would be for the students in the high school to get free lunch as well?
Well, we're not permitted to give them free lunch because we're not in that, the percentage.
Right, but I'm saying not necessarily coming from federal funds. I'm saying if we figured out a way in our budget to be able to allow for that. Do we have a number on that?
Oh, we would have to pay for each child's meal.
Correct.
No, we don't have a number on
Okay.
that.
I'd be curious to see what that is.
Okay.
Thank you.
That would be a lot of money. A lot of money.
$5.
Okay, is everyone okay going ahead and approving this?
I just want to ask a question. You think this will, these changes will work in helping us not to have a big unpaid balance at the end of the year? I mean, to me, that's what this policy is about.
I don't think this, to be honest, I don't think this will help us to not have a big unpaid balance. I think our unpaid balance will be smaller because there's only one school that can actually get a negative balance, and that's the high school. So it'll be smaller because of that, not because of this. I think that the unpaid balance will be a little bit smaller even at the high school, just because people are recognizing that when they got the free meal before, they don't now. They're starting to apply. People who actually are in a situation where they can't afford meals are actually applying for the free meal program. We've had a lot of applications come through. So I think that's going to keep the negative balance down, and I think the fact that it's only one school will. But I don't think this will. This is just basically saying what we do when kids don't pay for their meals.
The schools down at Locust Grove, everybody gets free meals down there?
All the children, yes.
Okay.
Yep, middle school and elementary and primary.
Do you have the amount per student in the high school for lunch? I'm trying to calculate my number.
Oh. The children pay $2.90.
Okay.
For lunch.
Basically 1,500 students.
Yeah, we went to the other report and got the number. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But I think probably even if you calculated that number out, I don't know that that's a consumable price.
Well, you're not going to be able to get an exact number because
Right.
If you have it paid, certain people buy the food. So say that's 100 students, but you make it unpaid, maybe 200 students would get it. So you're not going to be able to get an accurate answer here just by.
Right.
When we had all free meals for all kids, the participation wildly increased at the middle and elementary schools. It somewhat increased at the high school, but not to the same amount. Not percentage-wise. The increase at the high school was less affected.
Right.
It was affected, but it was less affected.
That makes sense to me because high school students have access to money. They have choices to make.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
I think it's important. This, what you're reading here is how we have to operate in the cafeterias as far as when students come through line, what we can and can. So we're, this is what we are already doing and have to do. We're changing the policy now to reflect and make it actually in line with how we operate day to day, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, Mr. Hopkins, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, ma'am. I make a motion that we approve the guidelines for food services related to student lunch as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
A second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Blair.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Blair, Madam Chair, members of the board. Next, we'll have Mr. Arnold. Will come up and he's going to speak a little bit about the recommendation from staff to extend and renew contract with HDR Architects. Mr. Arnold.
Thank you, Dr. Horner. Madam Chair, members of the board. At our November 1st, 2021 meeting, the school board awarded the contract for general architectural and engineering services, etc., for Orange County Public Schools to HDR Architects for the period of October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022, with the option for annual renewal for up to 4 additional years. At this time, we recommend the first year of that extension, which will enable HDH to complete the design of the partial roofing replacement at Unionville Elementary School, which they are working on now, and to proceed with the design of the proposed roof replacement at Gordon Barber as well. The division has been very satisfied with the performance of HDH Architects on previous projects, including many roof replacements and repairs to our EPDM rubber roofs, as well as the metal roof that was put on the Hornet Sports Center a few years ago. So we request approval of this contract to be renewed. Any questions from the board?
Now, we just pay them for the work done up until $100,000, is that?
Correct, Mr. Hopkins. Their ability to sign a contract with us is limited to $100,000 each year, and we only pay for the actual services provided.
Okay. What happens if it gets above $100,000?
We'd have to come to y'all for a supplement, or we would have to bid it out.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me. Is everyone comfortable with this?
I'll make a motion if you want one.
Sure, I'll entertain a motion.
Of Mr. Arnold's presentation on the general architectural engineering services renewal.
All right, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second?
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. All right, Mr. Arnold, stay there. We're going to, he's going to give an update here regarding some of our ongoing maintenance and CIP projects. Mr. Arnold.
Thank you again. We'll start out with Gordon Barber, where the classroom additions and renovations are in progress. And in the past month or so, they have relocated the gas line, cleared the site, removed several trees, and installed water lines, sanitary, and storm sewer pipe. They encountered rock in several locations while excavating for these lines and brought in equipment to break through it. Since this went to press, they have also encountered soft soil. There was what was once a fish pond in the back lot there, which they had to dig that out and fill that with good soil. And there was another section of the site that was also very soft, but they dug that out, got everything filled back to the original grade. And as you can see from these pictures here, they have actually brought the fill up to the building pad level on about half the site. So it won't be too long till they're digging footings and pouring concrete. Awesome. There's another shot of the other part of the site. They're still filling in on the West Baker Street side, but they're all done toward the teacher parking lot. If you go there, you'll see that it's all pretty level.
Awesome. How
All
cool.
Right. On to Orange County High School. We've had 2 projects there that were planned and another that was unplanned, shall we say. First one was to replace the broken concrete bases at the bus loop canopy, because there were about 5 or 6 of them that had crumbled, and you had columns just sitting there with no concrete to hold them in place. So we got that all done, and we also painted the columns both at that bus loop canopy and in the back courtyard. Almost the minute we finished the painting, a big pine tree came down from near the school and slammed right into the last 2 sections of that canopy, and it pretty much destroyed it. It bent the second frame as well as the last 2 sections of metal decking. So that's all gone now, and there'll be a...
Those bases held up, didn't they?
They did. They were just fine. So we've got that all cleared out and have filed with the insurance company to get us new decking and a new frame. We also had other trees that came down, including one behind the track, on the backside of the track, which a tree came down and then lightning hit and also put several punctures in the track. So we're gonna have to get that repaired. And then also we replaced the stair treads and risers on the stairway outside the cafeteria where the steps had started to crack and fail. So that's all done, painted up. All right, moving on to Hornet Sports Center. We had a contractor that came in and repaired and painted the bleachers. It looks pretty nice over there if you get a chance to check it out. And we're gonna try and keep it that way by preventing people from bringing in sodas and various outside drinks. On to 4 schools, the 3 Locust Grove schools plus Prospect Heights. All of those schools had cracked or damaged sidewalks. And so we replaced many sections of sidewalk over the summer. Some of them were damaged from excessive salt on the most of the schools that face north. But at Locust Grove Primary, there was a driveway up behind the kitchen that wasn't wide enough, so the trucks were just making ruts constantly on the side of it. So we widened that thing out about 6 feet, and now they actually drive on the concrete. Orange Elementary School, we had a major project with the playground, and Laura will show us a before picture. That's what it looked like for y'all that have been over there.
Yep.
Pretty far gone. So we went in and tore all that out and tore out the chain link fencing, built a segmental block retaining wall. And
awesome.
To the contractor's credit, I had all square corners in there, and it was his idea to put that nice curve in there. So if you go over there, that looks very nice.
Thank you so much. That was.
It is, it looks awesome.
I tried to always look the other way when I'm right there.
Yeah, I don't have to do that anymore. You can look and
Yeah,
enjoy.
it looks awesome, Doug.
So that's where the old fence was with the swing set. The previous slide, Laura, I wanted to comment on that a little bit, because that tree used to be within the playground, and so there was never any grass around the tree, and the kids were constantly tearing up the mud and tripping over the roots and you name it. And now that tree can thrive outside the fence, and we can even maybe grow some grass.
I wouldn't count on it.
Yeah, no. I will also mention, I didn't send a photo, but over here in the other stairway, there used to be a almost dead dogwood hanging out by a thread with some timber retaining walls around it that were about to fall out. We also had enough block left over to build a retaining wall there. We took out the dead tree and graded it back a little bit.
I didn't notice
So
that. I was
worked
too
out really
looking
well.
at that when you go through there.
On to Locust Grove Middle School. As you all remember, you've approved a major contract to replace the lighting in the classrooms, but we did a little kind of a prequel to that. These are the lights, believe it or not, they were actually on when this was taken, but obviously not working. But we went in and changed the lights in the stairwells with the flat panel LED. So no more dust and bugs, and they'll probably be burning when all of us are done here. Prospect Heights Middle School. We painted the entire first floor classrooms, bathrooms, etc., and can now say that all the classrooms and restrooms on both floors of Prospect Heights Middle School, as well as the library last year, and now the art room and part of the band room have all been painted. Likewise, at Unionville, we painted the walls in the kindergarten annex, which were formerly a combination of dingy green on the metal walls and off-white on the cinder block walls, and they're now all the same color. It's a pale gray, real nice color. And so we're looking to do more work in there next summer, including replacing the lights like we did at Lightfoot, and also hopefully changing the carpet over to VCT. Also at Unionville, we removed the old radiators and asbestos paper from the second grade classrooms, 7 through 14. And we painted the walls where the radiators had been, but we'll hold off on the rest till next year when we will remove the old cabinets and countertops and replace those, and we'll paint the rest of the rooms. Right here at Teak, we created a little more space for cosmetology by taking out a center wall in a room, and they essentially have 2 full classrooms now. Painted and patched that, and we built a closet to close the electrical panel to make it less likely that curious kids will go and shut the power off or something. Also at Teak, we had another oak tree that y'all have seen before when we had started cutting it up. We finally got that hauled away and removed. We also took the remaining trunk that was still standing because it was leaning toward this building. We got lucky. The trunk that fell down the hill.
Yep.
So that's done.
Been in your office.
Yeah, almost.
I'm saying you wanted a new roof.
Laura wanted a renovation.
You almost had it, Laura. That's right.
Last but not least, I wanted to give a report on the demand response program. Basically, it's a program with the power companies where at the 6 largest schools, the intent of the program is if there's a real spike in demand, or either in the wintertime from heat or in the summer from AC, that we would voluntarily lower the power use at each school by cutting the AC off or setting it back at a higher setting. But when there isn't a program like that, of actual need for reduction, they do a simulation each year, which this year will happen on September 1st. We basically shut the systems down or reduce the demand for 1 hour. By doing that last year, we were able to collect very close to $10,000 in rebates that goes back into our power budget.
Awesome.
So it's a pretty worthwhile program. I think by school that comes out to about $1,000 an hour.
And then, Mr. Arnold, that was both Dominion and REC?
Yes, 2 schools for Dominion and 4 for REC.
Right.
All right. Any questions or comments?
Thanks for what you do.
Thank you.
I know you've been busy.
A little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that is all for superintendent's reports and recommendations. Thank you all.
Okay. At this time, Ms. Byram, we can review calendars.
September, we have the holiday coming up, and we have this coming Friday off and Monday. As you'll recall, we're required to take Friday off because of the date that we start school. There's the first governor's school meeting on the 7th. We have our next regular school board meeting scheduled for September 12th at this time, and the work session is scheduled for September 19th. There's also a prep board meeting and a VSBA legislative advocacy conference, which several members are planning to attend.
Okay. And at this time, I'd entertain the idea of combining the 12th meeting with the September 19th. I will be traveling, and Mr. Hopkins will be traveling in there as well. So I guess we need to make a motion and vote on this to combine these meetings.
If I understand, the meeting on the 19th will be a work session.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
So I think the motion probably should be just to eliminate the school board meeting on the 12th.
And do the work session. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered all the things was scheduled to be voted on the 12th tonight, so unless there's any objections.
I would second that motion.
Okay. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Ms. Byram? Alrighty. takes us to October.
Let's see here. So October, our regular meeting will be on the 3rd, with the work session on the 31st. And then we will have our first parent-teacher conferences on the 20th. Those will be evening conferences, so the students will still be in school. And then on the 21st, the students will be off. It will be a student holiday, and parent-teacher conferences will take place in the morning. And then, of course, there's the prep board meeting on the 26th.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Byron. So at this time,
And probably don't need to review the September 12th
session
agenda.
certification?
Madam Chair,
Yes, I'm sorry.
could we entertain a 5-minute recess, please?
Absolutely. We'll recess for 5 minutes. We have closed session certification, please.
Pursuant to 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia, I move to convene a closed meeting for the following: discussion of personnel or the performance of a division employee as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia for resignation, termination, transfer, employment, salary adjustment, and retirement of employees. Discussion of pupil personnel is authorized by Section 2.2-3711A2 for early admission, waiver of compulsory attendance, out-of-county, out-of-district requests, and student discipline. Consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by the school board regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia. And discussion or consideration of reports or plans related to the security of the school division facilities or the safety of persons using school division facilities as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A19 of the Code of Virginia.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're in closed session. session. Come on,
Yeah.
This is a mouthful. Okay. I think, have you got it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the motion. This is certification.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, ready?
The board will reconvene in open session, at which time the following motion will be adopted. Whereas the Orange County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Orange County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please, Ms. Byram.
Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Hopkins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. Page?
Aye.
Ms. Quintern?
Aye.
Madam Chair, the clerk certifies the vote as follows: 5 yes votes, no votes. The resolution is approved by a 5-0 vote.
Thank you. And Dr. Hornick, disposition of personnel actions.
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve the salary adjustment, resignation, employment, and coaching and extracurricular assignments of staff as presented and recommended in closed session.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to accept this, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept and approve the personnel actions as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Dr. Hornick, disposition of pupil personnel actions.
Yes, ma'am. To seeking approval, pupil personnel is presented in closed session for waiver of compulsory attendance based on religious beliefs, and this is respect to numbers PP 2023-01 through PP 2023-05.
Thank you. Hearing this, can I have a motion to accept these, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. And at this time, the certification of the annual review of school division crisis plan. I hereby say, make a motion that we have all observed these plans, and I would entertain a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries. All right, and at this time, any board comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.